So you really want to know why the next big privacy fight in crypto might be hiding in plain sight, inside your stablecoins. Well, stick around because Cardano is brewing up something that could flip the stablecoin game on its head. So picture this, you're grabbing coffee, you tap your phone, and boom, your payments on chain for the whole internet to see. The cashier knows that you just paid with a stablecoin, your friends scrolling a block explorer could follow your crumbs right back to where that coin sat in your wallet last night. It's kind of creepy, right? Well, today we're diving into why Cardano's founder, Charles Hoskinson, says, nope, enough of that, and how he kind of plans to roll out the first mainstream privacy-enabled stablecoin, complete with a tongue-twisting selective disclosure and season freeze regime. Now, yeah, we're unpacking that mouthful, plus at least what it means for weekend spending, for regulators, and the entire $246 billion stablecoin market. Buckle up, because by the end of this video, you're going to know whether you're ready to ditch the glasshouse stablecoins for something a lot more, well, midnight. All right. Quick backstory. Stablecoins exploded from the quirky dollar in a computer trick to at least the lifeblood of crypto trading. Over 2/3 of every trade now settles in these things. Industry giants Tether and Circle alone juggle roughly $145 billion and $60 billion each. Now, Citi even says that we might be staring at a $1.6 trillion to $3.7 trillion monster by, at least market, I should say, by 2030 if regulators don't slam on the brakes. But here's the trade-off. Every USDT or USDC that you send is tattooed on a public ledger forever. Great for transparency, lousy for privacy. Enter Hoskinson on the Conversations with Leaders podcast, casually dropping that Cardano might debut a privacy stablecoin where your grocery run isn't tomorrow's Reddit gossip. Now, his pitch is quite simple. Users deserve the option to cloak transaction amounts and counterparties, letting only a court order peel back the curtain. Now, he calls it selective disclosure, so think of it as a magic visor then. Normally opaque, but regulators get X-ray vision if a judge says so. And that season kind of freeze bit, imagine your coins doing a kind of temporary hard stop if there's a serious legal red flag, so bad actors can't sprint away with, well, dirty funds. Now, I know what you're thinking. Privacy coins exist. You've got Monero, Zcash, yada. So true, right? But they're kind of magnets for delisting and regulatory side-eye. The EU has flat out banned exchanges from touching them after July 2027, and the US can't even pass basic stablecoin rules without shouting match on Capitol Hill. So why would a privacy stablecoin fare any better? And Hoskinson's betting on Cardano's new sidechain, Midnight, which at least tries to kind of blend cryptographic stealth with built-in compliance toggles. Now, Midnight's whole kind of shtick, if you will, is regulated confidentiality. Now, in plain English, keep my business to myself, right? But flip a switch if Uncle Sam truly needs to peek. So let's think of it like blinds on a window. Most of the time they're down. Cozy privacy. But if the fire marshal comes knocking, you can open them up just wide enough to show that the room isn't on fire. Now, Hoskinson claims that this balance is exactly what legacy finance and lawmakers crave. Transparency when warranted, right? Blissful darkness otherwise. Now, Cardano might become the first chain where a mainstream stablecoin adopts that model, beating Ethereum, Tron, and Solana at their own game. All right, So let's get real for a sec, right? Why do you, the everyday degen, or maybe the coffee-loving normie, actually care? And it's for 3 reasons. First, you deserve digital cash that feels as private as, physical cash. Now, when I fork over a 10 dirham note in Dubai, nobody traces my full salary, right? A privacy stablecoin brings that vibe on chain. Second, businesses loathe leaking trade secrets. A supplier doesn't want competitors spying on volume discounts etched forever on a public ledger. Right? Cloaked transfers means healthier margins and less corporate espionage. Then you got third, personal safety. Right? Journalists in kind of oppressive regimes, political distance, if you will, even regular kind of folk, escaping toxic relationships. They all kind of benefit when financial footprints stay hidden from prying eyes. But there's a catch, a spicy regulatory catch. Governments fear privacy tools because they become laundromats for dirty money. Right? Monero's history kind of proves the concern isn't imaginary. Right? Exchanges like Binance and OKX have already kicked privacy coins to the curb. And if you're kind of following the EU markets and crypto assets regulation, you know that Brussels isn't playing. Right? They've outlawed exchange support for anonymous tokens. And so how does Cardano dodge that particular kind of bullet? Well, Hoskinson's selective disclosure is basically his Trojan horse. By baking in on-demand transparency, Cardano can walk into a regulator's office and say, look, we've got privacy, but also the subpoena key. So imagine stablecoins sitting in a vault with 2 doors, one for you and one for the judge, right? Both doors stay locked unless the person turns the key. Right? The dual door model aims to satisfy know your customer mandates without turning users into fish within an aquarium. Now, Cardano's devs already kind of tested similar concepts when they built Midnight's toolkit. So zero-knowledge proofs, secure enclaves, and fancy kind of marketized kind of data structures. Yeah, jargon galore, right? But the big takeaway is that they can prove a transaction meets compliance rules without revealing who, what, or how much. It's kind of like showing airport security an X-ray of your suitcase that confirms no explosives, yet the contents remains your secret. Okay, let's zoom out into market impact. Stablecoins on Cardano currently equal a modest $31 million, crumbs compared to Ethereum's billions. But the gap screams opportunity, right? If Cardano launches the first compliant privacy stablecoin, liquidity might flood in. Traders stick to public ledgers, might actually park funds there, right? DeFi protocols on Cardano could hook in privacy toggles, luring users who skipped the chain before. And don't forget enterprise deals. Supply chain giants, forever worried about leaking supplier info might actually finally kind of dabble in, DeFi. Of course, market skeptics abound, right? Some say regulators will still kind of bulk it out. Others kind of argue users actually like transparency because it builds trust. There's also the network effect hurdle, right? Why switch from USDT if everyone you trade with already uses it? And these are fair questions. But remember, right, early mobile phones, right, brick-sized, limited coverage, everyone laughed. Then carriers solved roaming, added text, shrank the hardware, and suddenly grandma's texting emojis. Innovation feels pointless until the moment that it doesn't, right? Privacy stablecoins could follow that path. Niche curiosity today, industry norm tomorrow. Now, by the way, if you love geeking out over these what ifs, our free crypto Discord server is exactly where debates like this happen 24/7. There's a link in the description down below. Jump in, flex your hot takes, or maybe just lurk and learn. Okay, let's dig into the crunchy mechanics one layer deeper. Selective disclosure means transaction data, amount, sender, receiver, is encrypted on chain. A zero-knowledge circuit, attests the transfer obeys, protocol rules, no double spend, adequate balance, sanctioned addresses blocked. Meanwhile, an off-chain key, escrow, think legal kind of dead man switch, stores decrypted data. If law enforcement obtains a warrant, a judge can compel the key holder to reveal specifics. Otherwise, the data stays scrambled. And the season freeze piece is more experimental. So imagine a seasonal review window, maybe quarterly, where flagged addresses face a temporary lock. Regulators or governance kind of participants then vote to release or seize those funds. It's kind of like Cardano's vision of, FinCEN, right? Keep an eye on the suspicious bank account, but don't, but when done, I should say, transparently on chain, yet still kind of respecting individual privacy until due process completes. Now, critics shout centralization risk. After all, someone must hold the decryption key or run those funds, votes, right? Or freeze those funds votes. Now, Hoskinson hasn't published all of the answers just yet. Now, he hints that decentralized identity frameworks and multi-sig committees could spread power thin enough to kind of calm fears. Still, implementing is no Sunday picnic, right? And let's be honest, get it wrong and you either have a useless privacy coin regulators hate or a regulator-friendly coin that users shun because it leaks too much data. So you queue up the Midnight sidechain hero shot. Right? Midnight lives adjacent to Cardano, leveraging a mix of zero-knowledge technology and trusted execution environments. It's designed for projects that don't fit into public ledger transparency but still want to dip their toes into Cardano's wider ecosystem. The proposed kind of privacy stablecoin would likely mint on Midnight and bridge into mainnet when privacy is not required, letting users hop back and forth as needed. It's sort of like having a secret basement attached to your house. You keep valuables hidden downstairs, but carry them upstairs when guests come to visit. Okay, now about adoption speed. Now, exchanges remain king makers, right? They decide which coins get instant liquidity and user eyeballs. Given their kind of nervousness around Monero-like tokens, Cardano's compliance-friendly design might charm them. If Binance or Coinbase sees regulators blessing selective disclosure, well, they'll be more inclined to list it, and that's a huge incentive for builders. Now, speaking of exchanges, quick shout out to today's sponsored section, if you will, except it's not really a sponsor, it's just a simple invite. Why don't you check out Blowfin, the best up-and-coming crypto exchange. There's a link in the description down below. It lets you sign up, snag some bonuses, and start trading a boatload of assets before the mainstream crowd piles in. Now, I've been poking around their interface for weeks, and think Binance kind of speed, but without the clutter of 1,000 tiny buttons. Give it a whirl after this video. I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right. Nerd moment over. Back to macro stakes then, right? Suppose privacy coins catch on and treasury departments worldwide suddenly face money flows that can practically see only when the legal switch flips, right? Now that changes everything from sanction monitoring to central bank digital currency strategies. If private actors crack their blend of privacy and compliance first, well, governments might adopt similar blueprints. Ironically, Hoskinson's experiment could actually help national CBDCs become more civil liabilities friendly instead of surveillance nightmares that critics fear. Yet the race is on, right? Ethereum's devs are experimenting with ERC-5564. This is a stealth address proposal. Solana's ZK initiatives wants lightning-fast private transfers. Even Bitcoiners talk about kind of pay joins and coin control improvements. Cardano isn't alone. But being first with a fully kind of regulated privacy stablecoin could grant immense narrative bragging rights. And let's be real, narratives move markets. So, personal anecdote. Last month, I paid a freelancer, the freelance designer that is, in USDC. 2 hours later, she DM'd me, wow, I didn't know that you kept that much idle stablecoin. My immediate reaction, oops, privacy leak. Multiplied that awkwardness by millions of everyday payments, and you kind of gasp why privacy matters beyond dark web cliches. Still, hurdles loom, right? Smart contract audits for zero-knowledge codes are notoriously tricky. One bug could reveal more than intended or freeze funds forever. User experience is another beast. How do you explain keys, warrants, freezes, and sidechains in an app that grandma can navigate? If the UX team nails it, adoption soars. If not, well, we've seen plenty of brilliant tech collecting dust. Okay, so let's project forward 5 years. You walk into a shop. The point of sale terminal pops a QR code. You pay with, say, CUSD-private. The chain records compliance okay, but nobody outside the transaction sees a dime. You hop on a DeFi lending dApp, deposit your privacy stablecoins and earn yield without advertising your net worth. When tax season hits, you click Generate Report and your wallet selectively decrypts only the fields your accountants need. That's the utopia that Hoskinson is envisioning. Will regulators buy in? They might, if they get reliable audit trails when necessary. The success of travel rule solutions suggests, compromise is possible. If Cardano truly demonstrates traceability on demand, well, policymakers gain a new hammer against illicit finance, while ordinary users keep their living room curtains closed. Everyone wins, at least on paper. Okay, so before we wrap up, let's tally the score. Stablecoins dominate crypto, but privacy is zero. Regulators, they want oversight, but they don't want Monero or ZK Cash, for example. Hoskinson pitches selective disclosure plus, seize and freeze. Privacy on by default, reveal by court order. Now, Cardano's Midnight sidechain supplies the technology. Exchanges might list it because compliance kind of knobs chill their kind of legal teams. If it works, users get digital cash anonymity without turning regulators into enemies. If it fails, either privacy purists call it surveillance coin or lawmakers will label it money laundering tool. These are high stakes. Now, personally, I see echoes of early kind of SSL, I guess, on the web, right? Initially clunky, then suddenly indispensable. If Cardano nails the UX and keeps regulators smiling, privacy stablecoins could be tomorrow's HTTPS, that locked icon that you see in your browser. And of course, if you're itching to kind of disclose whether that metaphor actually holds water or whether, I'm just drinking the 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓 Kool-Aid, hop into our free crypto Discord server. There's a link waiting for you in the description down below, and the memes alone are worth the click. Okay, one final nugget. Citi's bullish report predicting up to $3.7 trillion in stablecoins by 2030 assumes mass adoption in payments and corporate treasuries. Imagine even a slither of that pile flowing into privacy-capable coins. We're talking about hundreds of billions zipping around invisibly, yet compliantly. Hoskinson's timing might actually be razor sharp. So, next time that you send a stablecoin and cringe at the public footprint, remember, Midnight might bring the cloak that you've been waiting for.